Or just took the first grade. I was up there and I asked about that. But oh yes, it's not it's like really you couldn't develop it on this side. So I heard so they're going.
And I'm going to remind Ms. Suderman that her microphone is on. Thank you. Yes, I got a thumbs up from Director Acton, so.
Apologies from Patrick.
And now we've lost audio again for the chair and the boardroom. Director Acton, can you hear me?
Yes, sorry, I'm just having a snack.
Okay,
Otherwise,
you
I
can.
would turn
Okay,
my
good.
camera
So
on.
we're good. IT support is unmuted, so you can hear us. Legislative services is muted, so we can't hear Patrick's office anymore. All right, we're going to get back underway. As soon as Director Wilson's finished, we'll get underway. I know. I let you spool it up while Director Wilson finishes. Okay, we're alive. Thank you very much. This is our first board meeting back after a break, so. The next item on our agenda, Ms. Boyd.
Thank you, Chair. We are at CR2, report and recommendations of the committee whole meeting from this morning. Director Morrison.
That's why we were waiting for you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. From our meeting of this morning, we have some items here, 3 items. Would you like them read out, or does everyone have them before them, or?
They're on the
read out? Okay. Item 1, R1, that the 3-year transit expansion plan for 24-25 to 26-27, as outlined in BC Transit's letter of September 1st, 2023, be approved. 2, that transit service expansion hours and estimated cost for the 2024-25 through the 2026-27 be incorporated into the 2024 budget and 5-year financial plan for both Function 106 commuter transit and Function 107 transit. 2, that the CVRD board give 3 readings to CVRD bylaw number 4509, fireworks regulation service establishment bylaw 2023, and 2, that after provincial review and statutory approval by the Inspector of Municipalities, the CVRD board adopt CVRD bylaw number 4509, fireworks regulation service establishment bylaw 2023, and R3, that the CVRD enter into a 5-year license of use agreement with Axim Foods Inc. for concession services at the Couch Community Center effective September 15th, 2023 to September 14th, 2028. And I move those items.
Seconded by Director Staples. Not all items from this morning's agenda go directly to the board meeting, though only those that are time sensitive. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries.
That concludes my report.
Thank you, Director Morrison. We're off to a great start for the second part of our afternoon session. Ms. Boyd.
Thank you, Chair. 10, Director's reports. 11, staff reports. Report from the Development Services Division regarding the adoption of Bylaw 4385. For recommendation, for information, Bylaw 4385, Electoral Area F, Cowichan Lake Scuts Falls Zoning Amendment Bylaw, PID 009411089-2021 is on the board meeting agenda for adoption.
That's just for information unless members of the board have questions about that item before we go to the bylaws. Okay, seeing none, we can move on.
SR2, report from the Legislative Services Division regarding the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Program Compliance and Best Practices Update. The recommendation is that the board give 3 readings and adoption to CVRD bylaw number 4515, Cowichan Valley Regional District Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy bylaw 2023. And I believe Mr. Robbins is online to speak to if you have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Robbins. You're just here for questions, or do you have a presentation?
I leave that up to the chair. I can certainly give you some remarks and just provide an overview, or I could just take questions.
Thank you. I think we can just go with questions. I'll turn to or unless the first question could you give us an overview?
I would love an overview because I found this really challenging to read.
Yeah, I agree. Mr. Robbins, can you just give us a Coles Notes version?
Sure. I think the overarching challenge with the current bylaw is it's dated. It doesn't look at best practices and current standards. So the original bylaw originated in 1990. I have it here. Let me just have a look for the date again. 1994. And so it is really outdated in terms of best practices. And best practices, we refer to the Local Government Management Association that provides a great best practices when it comes to freedom of information and protection of privacy. And we recently contracted a private firm that specializes in freedom of information to do a bit of an audit and a review of our practices within our FOI program. One of the recommendations coming out of their audit or review of our FOI program was the fact that the bylaw was dated, was slightly out of compliance with the Local Government Act. It was inefficient, and it provides greater flexibility when it comes to delegating the duties to administer and manage the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. For instance, the inefficiency is such that we had a committee head, which means there was actually 3 people that had to be consulted in order for us to advance things like FOI requests. And those are requests where the public requests records from us. And so there's a process and a formal process that we had to have actually a committee to move anything forward in a request. And that was really cumbersome, awkward, and very inefficient. The other thing is the current bylaw states and delegates most of the, we would say, important duties under FOI. And again, that is really inefficient and ineffective because the overall named head of FOI has the authority under the Act to actually then delegate all the necessary duties and responsibilities to others. And the best practices, and there is a great guide from the provincial government and a guide that helps us do that delegation. For instance, the simplest things of receiving an FOI request, we have a delegated authority to a single person versus, for practical purposes, you would think that we should be able to just receive an FOI request and be able to respond and acknowledge and begin the process. But the current bylaw made that kind of thing very cumbersome.
Thank you. And also, this new proposed bylaw is in compliance with the Act.
Correct. And it's the standard. If you look around the province, I think there is no regional district and likely few municipalities that aren't using the exact same bylaw, quite frankly. And this is the prescribed best practices from the Local Government Management Association.
Great. Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Director Wilson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Patrick, one of the big things that was brought up more and more was the delay in a request for FOI and the deliverance of that FOI. And I understand it was up to you guys in Legislative Services to actually find the information that they were looking for. And this may be a question for our CAO. As I understand it, we took on a records clerk, who is in charge of actually making sure that we've got all the rest of it. Could this now mean that that information could be retrieved by the records clerk, or would it still have to be done through you guys?
Mr. Robbins.
as you can appreciate, records aren't centralized. And so despite the fact that our corporate records function has expanded by personnel, it doesn't mean that all the records are centralized in legislated services. And that's typical in every local government. And so part of the process when we take an FOI request, we need to do what we refer to as a call for records, which means we have to go to various divisions and departments within our organization, because they are generally at this point in time the stewards of those records, and then they need to respond and provide our FOI programmers those records that we then go through the rest of the process. So it still isn't centralized. Keep in mind, and we've heard this before, the Electronic Data Records Management System, the EDRMS that we're working towards, will help with that process. And by eliminating one of the steps, which was a committee head, and that head was 3 people, that will add to the efficiency that we have. Keep in mind, we've also, appreciation and thanks to the board, you approved last year a half-time position, an FOI technician, which is helping us as well in terms of our ability to meet our statutory requirements when somebody makes a request and we get the records out to them in a timely manner.
Thank you. And, a couple of notes, things like text messages and stuff can also be part of an FOI request, so they can't be really centralized. And in addition, the number of FOI requests across all governments, but in the CVRD in particular, have increased dramatically. So, all right, with that being said, is there any more discussion? Have we got a motion? Director McGonigal.
Move the recommendation.
And seconded by Director Justice. Now we're calling him Director Professor Justice. We're going to start adding titles. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Boyd.
Public hearings, we have none, and we move to bylaws. That the CVRD bylaw 4509, Fireworks Regulation Service Establishment bylaw 2023 be granted first, second, and third readings.
Moved by Director Nicholson, seconded by Director Wilson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Boyd.
Thank you. That CVRD bylaw 4515, Cowichan Valley Regional District, Freedom of Information, and we did just, sorry, we just gave it 3 readings and adoption, so.
But we have to actually do 2 motions to do first 3 readings and adoption
Thank
separately,
you.
do we not?
Yes, so CVRD bylaw 4515, Cowichan Valley Regional District, Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy bylaw 2023 be granted first, second, and third readings.
Moved by Director McGonigal, seconded by Director McClinton.
And that's CVRD bylaw 4515.
We'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. This is our first meeting back after about 5 weeks. We're all bumping along here. Ms. Boyd.
And that's CVRD bylaw 4515, Cowichan Valley Regional District, Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy bylaw 2023 be adopted.
Moved by Director Morrison, second by Director Justice. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries.
Bylaws, electoral area directors. That's CVRD bylaw 4385, electoral area F, Cowichan Lake, Scotts Falls, zoning amendment bylaw PID 009411089-2021 be adopted.
Moved by Director Morrison, seconded by Director Martman. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries.
BEA 2, that's CVRD bylaw 4480, South Cowichan zoning amendment bylaw. This is for 3280 Trans-Canada Highway 2023 be adopted.
Moved by Director Segal, seconded by Director Morrison. Any discussion? Oh, Director Segal.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say that this is going to provide needed processing facilities to serve poultry producers in the Cowichan Valley, particularly small and artisanal producers that are foundational to our local food security.
Thank you very much. Any further speakers? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Boyd.
BEA 3, that CVRD bylaw 4486, electoral area A, Mill Bay, Malahat, and electoral area C, Cobble Hill, South Cowichan zoning amendment bylaw, Suites Amendment 2023 be adopted.
Moved by Director Segal, seconded by Director Wilson. Any discussion? Director Segal?
Big thank you to staff for getting this through. This is an important move for just addressing our local housing crisis.
Thank you very much. Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Boyd.
BEA 4, that CVRD bylaw number 4490, Cobble Hill Village Sewer System Service Amendment Boundary Extension bylaw 2023 be adopted.
Moved by Director Wilson, seconded by Director Segal. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed? Motion carries.
BEA 5, that CVRD bylaw 4516, Burnham Water System Service Amendment Boundary Extension bylaw 2023 be granted first, second, and third reading.
Moved by Director Abbott, seconded by Director Martman. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. We have no resolutions, unfinished business, notice of motion, or new business, so we move to question period.
Yeah, we will have Ms. Boyd, as you step to the podium, read out our policy, and after Ms. Boyd does that, I have a couple of words, and then we'll take the first questions.
Thank you. That question period is an opportunity to offer the public to ask a question regarding the business of the CVRD. The question period allows for an allotment of 15 minutes and is comprised of two parts. The first is reserved for questions directly related to agenda items. If there is time remaining, questions may be on a matter of public interest related to and in the CVRD jurisdiction. Each questioner is permitted to ask one question plus one follow-up question related to the answer. The question must truly be a question and not a statement of opinion or speech. Questioners must avoid personal references, insinuations, violent, offensive, or disrespectful remarks about any other person or unparliamentary language. I'd also like to note if the question is unable to be answered in the meeting room today, we will research it and provide the answer in the next open board meeting.
And just before we go to questions, I just want to say, hey, we're all back. We went from having some agenda issues, some technical issues, and the chair was a little bumpy, and all of it was a lot of fun today, so welcome back, everyone. We'll smooth out the kinks for our next meeting after we get back from UBCM next week, and I just want to welcome our questioner to the podium. Just turn the microphone. Yep.
Hi, Marilyn Venturi again. This is in relation to something that has passed, and just I respectfully ask you to take a little look at a readout that I typed up hurriedly today, simply because I didn't have time to address it before the previous meeting, and just for some background so that you will understand the concerns that people have over accountability when it comes to permits. And I thank you so much for the respectful tone of the meeting and for allowing people to come forward. So if you would just take a peek at that, it'll shed a little bit more light after the fact if you're at all concerned or curious about where it comes from. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In response, the only comment I will make is being a municipal director, but living in an electoral area and seeing the struggles of electoral area governance when you have things like Ministry of Transportation, Agricultural Land Commission decisions, and it is a very difficult governance piece where these jurisdictions are limited. I know that hearing from most electoral area directors, I'm going to the conference we go to next week, most regional district electoral area directors want more authority over things like traffic, road use, land use, but are often, sort of stuck in this referral cycle and not really have full control over all of those decisions and enforcement. So.
And I do see that there's still an ability for people to contact the Agricultural Land Reserve itself, but it's when a project is funded entirely by a gravel pit company, obviously, we're concerned about the ongoing next steps in this whole process.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I thought for a minute Mr. Evans was just going to take this one off and let us go easy, but welcome, Mr. Evans.
Mr. Chair, I'm Cliff Evans from Shawnigan Lake. Mr. Chair, on today's agenda with the Ballmere Farm, that whole hill up at Valley View is a big aquifer and perched aquifers. And we know, and the Cowichan Watershed Board has tested all the tributaries to the Coquisala, and they know that it has bovine E. coli. When are we going to take some action to correct the situation? And when are we going to start protecting our water, which we know is up there? And if they cut into the perched aquifers and break the clay, that water is going to come rolling down the hills. When are we going to start taking some action?
Well, I'll have to have further discussions with staff on that, where our jurisdiction ends and begins, and what we might be able to do to that. So unfortunately, I can't answer that question. It feels maybe a little rhetorical, but I can't give a commitment to you on when or how we would accomplish that without some discussion with our staff.
Mr. Chair, the Cowichan Watershed Board has done tests. We know what the problems are, but don't you think it's time we try to correct them?
I think we try and correct many issues within the region all the time. The Cowichan Watershed Board is not a governmental organization. It's an advisory body to both the regional district and Cowichan tribes. We do a lot of lobbying through that vehicle. We provide a lot of information both to Cowichan tribes and the Cowichan Valley Regional District through that body, and we do a significant amount of lobbying with the information provided, but I'm not sure that we have the full regulatory authority in this case, and I would have to follow up with staff as if your question is even a possible jurisdictional authority that rests within the CVRD.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Seeing no further folks to the microphone, I'm going to get a motion to go into closed section under sections
91A.
91A, moved by Director Morrison, seconded by Director Manhas. He's been quiet today. That's why it went so fast. Going to call the question. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Not opposed. That was a joke. I wasn't speaking as much today. That's why it went so fast. We are enclosed. We will reconvene at 3:45.